I've always had this idea for a horror game. What if we could detect the player's fear and then make an enemy that feeds on their fear? But for a long time, I just thought it would be impossible to make that. Until now. And it all starts with this glove. So the idea is that we can shove electronics in this glove to measure things like heart rate and GSR, which if you don't know, just helps measure emotions. We'll combine this with a camera to detect the emotion on your face. Finally, we can put it all together and make a game where more fear equals more danger. But before we make a game, we have to put this thing together. Let's get started. I ordered everything I needed and waited as fast as I could. It took forever for the packages to get here, but once they did, I got right to work. The goal right now isn't to make it super accurate or look nice, as you can tell. We just need the sensors to give us some number, and then we can tune it later. Plus, I figured this would be a pretty easy place to start. It was not.
Okay, that's actually not what we want. Please work. Please work. Please work. I think it's gonna work. What the hell? My BPM is 500. What the fuck? Please work. Please work.
Finally, I got it to spit out some numbers. They weren't super accurate, but the fact that we were getting anything means that it's working and we can start making the game and worry about accuracy later.
But what's your game idea? You inquire eagerly. Well, I'm glad you asked. It takes place in a house, a haunted house. There's this ghost that lives there, and at first, he can't do much to hurt you. But as you get more and more scared, he gets stronger and stronger until he can eventually hunt and kill you.
But if you can survive one night without getting too scared, you win. So I made the house and started making the mechanics. You can now walk and look around. I also added the ability to pick stuff up and look at it, hide, a clock at the top so you know what time it is, and this lean thing. Leaning to peek your head out of a door doesn't really do anything for this game, but I thought it was cool anyway. But none of this really matters because the main focus of this game is going to be the enemy's behavior. So we're going to need the whole fear detection thing to start working in the game. I added this slider to the game, and the idea is that it'll go up when you're scared and down when you're calm, depending on what the glove says. But I also said I wanted a camera to detect the emotion on your face. But being able to read an emotion, let alone detect a face with code, is really hard. Luckily, some people way smarter than me already figured it out. But let's see if it actually works. It's not totally accurate. I have to get really sad for it to detect it. It works though, kinda. Not totally, but for the sake of this project, I'd say it's good enough. I was able to take this plus the numbers from earlier and write some code so that when you give it these three things, it gives you a percentage of how scared you are. Then we can just tell this slider to show that percent, and it actually worked. Kinda. Alright, so everything should be working. I do have a slight confession to make. Everyone makes mistakes during the engineering and design process. So I'm learning that it probably wasn't a good idea to hold everything together with tape because it is not quite the way I had envisioned it. The thing is, it all works. Everything is reading and sending data correctly, so I'm not gonna do anything about this. Look, the important thing is if we go into the game here and I start increasing my heart rate and sweating, so if I'm there you go. So yeah, everything is working. If I get scared, with this working, we can start on the enemy. First, the model. Okay, I know. But the thing is, he's supposed to be a ghost and he's gonna be invisible for most of the game anyway. So I decided it didn't really matter what he looked like and just went with this default guy with a broken arm. Alright, now let's talk about his behavior. Inspired by those behavior charts from kindergarten, I want to make something like this for him. So I made this chart, and in each section he'll get new abilities and act differently. I broke up the slider into these 4 sections and mapped each one to a behavior, so he was constantly changing based on your fear. Starting at the bottom, our ghost is happy as can be. Down here, he's not that angry. Sometimes he'll play a random sound effect or move something around in the house, but there's really not much he can do. Unless he gets up to the next section. perturbed. He's getting a little upset now and now has the ability to appear in a window for a few seconds. This enables him to do jump scares with the goal of getting you scared enough to move him up to the next section. Disgruntled. Up here, he's getting pretty mad at you and will start being way more active. He'll throw stuff at you, appear inside for a couple of seconds, and make you hear things that aren't really there. And God forbid, if you get up to the last section, he's lost his marbles. The lights in the house will start flickering and stuff will fly all over the place. He'll start searching the house for you, and if he finds you, jump scare you and kill you. And I hate to say it, but at this point I realized the game was unfair and pretty boring. Right now, you just have to wait until day and try to stay calm, but there's really nothing to do while you're waiting. But since the ghost has so many ways to try to bring up your fear, I felt like it would only be fair if the player had options to help bring it down. So I came up with 3 awesome ways that you can increase your sanity. Number 1, music. I added a radio that I had made for another game to the kitchen, and I made it play everyone's favorite happy, no copyright music. And if you're close enough to it while it's playing music, you have like a 15% resistance to the fear. So we can move on to the next way to improve your sanity. Me. I added a TV to the living room that plays my videos, and it's pretty much the same thing as the radio. If you're close enough, you get a resistance to the fear. And finally, the last way to improve your sanity, drugs. I put them in the basement, but made them way stronger than the TV and radio. So to balance it out, I made this door locked and added a key that you have to find before you can get into it. So with that, the game was done, so I decided to test it. But it did not go the way I wanted. The detecting fear part worked. That wasn't the problem. But I think adding a TV and radio was just not a great idea. Oh, I love this song. See, it's working. And we can watch TV. This game is awesome.
I have an idea. What if you make the walk-in?
Okay, so maybe the TV and radio were a mistake. So I took them out, but left the pills in the game, so there's just one thing to focus on. After that, I tried to play through the game again, but it still wasn't great. Pay attention to what happens when the fear gets into the last section. That's like the only goal right now. To stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. Oh god, dude. I'm gonna try to go back up to my... The problem is that if the enemy relies on jump scares, the fear bar will not stay at the top for very long. And it'll only jump up for a second and then immediately go back down. So because of that, there was never any real threat of the enemy hunting long enough to kill you. So it was back to the drawing board. Luckily, my new idea was a lot better. In the new system, the game detects when there's a big jump in fear like this. If this happens, the enemy gets a certain number of points, and the bigger your reaction, the more points he gets. The enemy can then spend these points to either try to scare you and get even more points, or start hunting to win the game. The points also go up slowly over time, so he'll get more aggressive as the night goes on. But most importantly, jumps in fear like this that only last a second will still be really important. I was feeling pretty good about the new system, so I decided to give my game one more try. Now I'm actually gonna try it. I'm gonna go try to find the key just because that's more entertaining than just sitting and hiding. But I forget where it goes. And also I made the ability to, oh there it is. And I also added this lean, which I don't think is that useful either, but it's cool that it's like, and it's fun to... Yeah, the thing with this glove is that if you feel any emotion intensely, it'll go up. So like since I laughed, my heart rate probably went up a little bit. I guess no more laughing. Okay, so I just have to get to the basement, I think. I mean, I know. I don't know why I'm saying I think. Take the pills, and I should... It's because I made that face, dude. That's not helping. That's gonna get me killed. Oh my god. I'm gonna take these upstairs and hide under my bed. Alright, so okay. I'll be pretty much safe if I can just like take the pills and sit under my bed. Look, the lean mechanic is useful. That is making me go up because I keep making that stupid face. Oh god. That is... Alright, so I suck at my own game, but the glove and camera worked, so that's a win in my books. I won't act like it was super accurate, but it wasn't that far off either. I feel like in hindsight, the camera probably hurt more than it helped because a lot of faces got detected as fear. But overall, I'm still pretty happy with how everything turned out. If you want to keep up with what I'm working on, join the Discord, the link's in the description. And if you want to learn to do cool stuff like this, then stick around for a word from our sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant offers tons of interactive lessons on math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. It's super hands-on, so the lessons aren't boring. Plus, that way of learning is 6 times more effective than watching a standard lecture video. They also have an app which lets you take lessons wherever and whenever you want, so you could learn these skills without having to make any changes to your schedule. If you wanted to do something like what I did in this video, then it would mostly fall under programming, but understanding data and science would also be super important. What I like about their data courses is that they offer real datasets from companies like Airbnb, Starbucks, and Spotify. So not only is it hands-on, but it's realistic to data you'll see in the real world. And as for science, I really like that they offer courses on scientific thinking. Because answering questions will help you learn, but developing a way of thinking and a way to approach these problems will help you so much more. So if any of that seems interesting to you, you can get 30 days free plus 20% off an annual plan if you go to brilliant.org/bcart. The link is in the description, or you can scan the QR code here. Thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching.